Welcome to Game of Roses. This is PaceCase.
This is Bachelor Clues. Today's Friday, which means this is This Week in Bachelor Nation. We're going to have a lot of news to get to, including the end of the Bachelorette, potentially the end of the Bachelor franchise as we know it. We've got a couple.
No, fake news.
It's all too real. We got a couple of Super Bowl halftime show reactions to get to from some members of the nation. We have a lot of parasocial plays to get to, some gains or declines to discuss as well. And we have a very special state of the game that has something to do with Love is Blind, which is, if you're watching this on Friday, the first few episodes of season 8 are now out on Netflix. You can join me.
Minneapolis, Minnesota, aka basically the North.
Basically the North. It's very close to the wall. As of this recording, I have not yet seen these episodes, but they come out tonight on Thursday at midnight, I believe. I will have watched at least a couple of them, and those will be in Clues Corner on our Patreon, patreon.com/Game of Roses. You can watch that whole season along with me. I can't wait.
I can't wait.
Before we get to our business, I have to first inform you why my face looks like it does. You see... This is so embarrassing.
It's so funny. Clues is fine.
I am fine. These are second-degree burns, but I am fine. I cook a meal that I call lovingly the gruel. It's basically like a kind of super-powered vegetable stew that I primarily eat as my only meal to try and combat cancer. I was cooking some of this the other day using a wooden spoon, and part of it is tomatoes. So I'm cooking the tomatoes in this kind of soup mixture, and I will press the tomatoes up against the side of the pot to smash them into the goo that it makes. Mm-hmm. My wooden spoon, I'm pressing it away from me. It breaks. The spoon part flips up and just douses my face in boiling gruel. Sometimes you eat the gruel. Sometimes the gruel eats you. That's how it works.
PSA, test your spoons.
Yeah. If you're using a wooden spoon, make sure it's strong. Make sure it's new. This was an old one, and it was kind of weakened because I think I had just washed it, and so it was like wet a little bit, and just snapped. And
try your spoons.
Try your spoons.
I mean, I'm just glad it didn't hit your eye.
Same.
And honestly, it doesn't look that bad. You just have a little bit of a glow. Like maybe you got a lot of sun this weekend.
I think it looks like I'm becoming a Walking Dead zombie, but you know what helps? I've found.
I know. What? Is it Topo?
It's Topo Chico tangerine and ginger extract. Drink it and heal all of your gruel burns.
Or learn how to be super, super good at not ever cooking with a plain LaCroix boy. So you avoid all of the dangers of cooking.
Cooking can be dangerous if you do it like I do it, with extreme prejudice.
Yeah.
Now,
well, I'm glad you're healed from your IFI. I did have to do the watch party by myself again due to this, but it's fine.
I'll be at the next one.
I think it's a real injury, just like Beverly's, it turns out.
Yeah, you can see I got damage on me. This is real. Very real. It was a very traumatic experience. But I'll be at the next watch party, even with these horrible burns on my face. I hope you'll join us. Speaking of these watch parties, we do have some more business to get to. The watch parties is one part of the business. 33 Taps, Silver Lake, every Monday night, 8 o'clock. Be there or be square to watch Grant Ellis' season unfold. All the luscious play that's being done by our beautiful players. I can't...
Luscious. The season is luscious.
It is luscious. I'm just so... I feel very bad for all these players because they're turning in incredible performances. None of them can be the Bachelorette now. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that in news. I think maybe one of them was.
It's devastating. And I'm like, I think a lot of people are watching this show to see who's going to be the Bachelorette.
100%.
So it's disappointing not only to the players, but to us as well, who are watching for that.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it in news. We'll have a little conversation about what we think this is going to mean for the franchise at large. We also must mention, we're doing our Goat Wars giveaway right now. You got to make a little short video about who you think is the GOAT of The Bachelor. Submit that. Tag us. All the rules are on our Instagram. You can go check it out there. And the winner of that is going to get some free Game of Rosé. That is our wine, which is now being packed and I believe shipped in the next week or two. So if you've pre-ordered, you're going to be getting it very soon. If you haven't pre-ordered yet, there is still some left. You can go check it out. It's on all of our social media, the links to it. I believe it's gameofroses.wine. I'm pretty sure is the website to
I'm
pre-order.
pretty sure. If you hear a little twinkling in the sky, that's the Game of Rosé flying overhead on its way to the pit dwellers who are going to get it. It's just, by the way, opened in some new markets. They just added on, what was it? Kansas,
and I believe Kentucky or Georgia.
We're working on expanding to Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Hawaii, etc.
Oh, wow. There's a bunch
Tennessee,
there.
West Virginia.
Yeah. So check in. If you're living in a state where we didn't ship, that may be changing. The website is gameofroses.wine, which I didn't even know could be a suffix on a URL, but look at that. You learn something new every day. Now, let's move on to a very special State of the Game with a very special guest involved in a franchise you might know as Love is Blind.
Game of Roses. State of the Game.
Welcome to our State of the Game. Today we have a very special guest with us. This is your, I believe, second time coming on Game of Roses. Mm-hmm. With us is Love is Blind's Nick Thompson. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, sound great.
Okay, perfect. Just want to make.
Yeah, man, it's our pleasure to have you. I know there has been, last time we had you on, you and Jeremy Hartwell had just kicked off the UCAN Foundation. You had just launched it. And that obviously was a foundation that is designed basically to help reality performers, A, know what their rights are, B, help kind of usher them through the process and give them any kind of support they might need in terms of mental health and all that kind of stuff. And just generally make life better for people who are on reality TV shows so that they're not at the whim of these malicious producers. So a lot has happened since then. Jeremy Hartwell filed a class action lawsuit against Netflix that got settled for $1.4 million. That happened sometime last summer, right?
Yeah, it was like last summer or fall that it finally settled, and we actually all the cast members just got their notifications about it maybe 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So it's
How did you get the notification?
Snail mail.
They sent you a check in the mail?
No, there's no check yet. You have so since it's a class action, it's like basically here's a couple pieces of paper explaining what your rights are to opt out, how much you're estimated to get from it. And then I think it's April. I could check if you want, but I think it's like April that you have to opt out. And then after that, you should get your check. So, like a year after it's settled. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, the fact that it covered so many people and really kind of set the stage, I think, for some of the stuff that's coming next is ultimately the good thing about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I took away from it is like, this is the first time any of these streamers or big network studios, production companies, anything have really been held legally accountable for the actions they're taking against the players. And it at the very least seems like a crack in the dam, and hopefully the tidal wave is coming. I don't know if that's how you guys view it too.
I think we have had I love the cracks in the dam. I think that's so true because I think there's been so many efforts from not just me or not just us, but efforts from people, in the Bravo universe and everywhere to kind of start taking back rights and holding them accountable and doing it from a legal perspective. Whereas before, you would find people that would oftentimes maybe speak out about their experience or speak out about their edit. But ultimately what would happen is they would get dragged into court by the production company, or they would, get a cease and desist and stop. Exactly. Yeah. And even us at the UCAN Foundation being able to help her get attorneys so she could fight back, where before that, she probably wouldn't have had any idea where to start and just been dragged into arbitration and a completely one-sided power dynamic. So I think that's the part that's kind of gross when you think about it. You've got
100%.
Like a production company with endless resources and contract that's 99.9% in their favor. You don't even stand a chance.
And that, for those who don't know with that situation, Renee Poche sued them for a lot of different claims about being, I think was hers the one that had wrongful imprisonment?
So there was, go ahead.
No, you tell us. You're the expert.
So there was another person from Renee's season who sued for wrongful imprisonment. And then Renee was speaking out about her experience of being on the show and being cut out completely and the dangerous situation she felt she was in. And I'm sure if you want to talk to her, she can tell you the details of that story. But she was the one that was sued for $4 million through arbitration and then countersued with her attorneys. And I hope they sort that out soon.
And the lawsuit that this is Netflix and Kinetic Content suing her for $4 million because what? She broke the NDA to talk about her experience, basically?
Exactly. Which primarily, I mean, there's a lot of feelings, I'm sure. And I've talked to Renee several times, but there's a lot of feelings, I'm sure, of kind of being in this show and going through this experience and then just being like, by and large, cut out of it. Yeah. And then to have all of the negative experience that she had, or some of the unsafe situations that she allegedly claimed she was put in, like that's a whole different dynamic, and that's your working conditions and that's your safety at that point, right? Yeah. So it's not like she's just complaining about getting cut out or going against the edit. There was a lot of things that she's explained about her experience that are very upsetting to hear, someone having to go through that.
Yeah. It's extremely upsetting. And when you think about getting sued for $4 million because you're speaking up about your safety, that's not what you want. No. You want people to feel safe. And if they don't feel safe, to be able to feel safe to say that. And if you're looking at the, being targeted, you won't speak out because you're like, well, I can't afford to get sued. They don't pay the cast members $4 million on Love is Blind.
No.
None of them have that money.
This is news to me.
No. And a lot of people too, they go on these shows, right? And I know a few that have, like, I personally know a few, and I've talked to others who have, and myself have like had issues with their job and chose to do this. And I think there's even several people that maybe quit their job to go do this. And I don't think Renee did any of that. But if you think about the sacrifices that you make to go and film this show for, 7-8 weeks, whatever that might be, and then to have your experience completely disregarded due to that power dynamic and an unfair contract, it's pretty upsetting. Again, I keep saying that word, but it's upsetting to hear that, they'll come after someone who over $4 million that they're never going to get just to prove that they have the power.
Yeah. She's an example. So every other cast member who now comes through Love is Blind has that hanging over their head that, like, if you say something on a podcast they don't like, you get sued for $4 million. So nobody's going to say anything. And we see this in Bachelor too, what you're talking about with nobody getting paid, but you're forced to take off months of work that can mean potentially the end of a job or maybe even a career that you then have to pick up the pieces if they cut you out of the show and you get no benefit out of it. Like with Renee Poche, it's my understanding that she does go to the altar with a guy, or at least gets to the point where she's living in an apartment with the guy. Turns out the guy has a gun. She feels unsafe. This is all, from things that are on the internet. No. And then the show, instead of even putting that in the show and giving her the opportunity to capitalize off the, potentially monetize the fame that comes with it, get some influencer gigs or whatever, they just eliminate her presence in the show so that she receives no benefit. And that strategy seems to be kind of ubiquitous across all reality shows. We see it time and time again in Bachelor where, some allegation will come out against a guy, a restraining order or whatever, some kind of like bad picture of him doing something racist in his past. And instead of addressing it, they just sweep it under the rug because addressing it means they have to essentially admit we made bad casting or we made bad producing. And they just don't do that. But, hopefully that's...
And most people who watch Love is Blind have no idea that this has happened.
No, and I think it's very interesting because there's this season they blend together, and I don't watch them, so it's even harder. But like I think it was 2 seasons ago, or it might have been last season, and it was the reunion, and Nick and Vanessa, who I have had nothing but great experiences with them, but they were kind of calling out people for coming on the show for the wrong reasons. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, where's the accountability for the producers and the casting agents and the production company and the type of people they're attracting? Because they do a thorough background check. they do, psychological examinations. They do all of these thorough interviews. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many interviews I went on. I don't even remember. It was just, some of them were like 2 hours. Some of them were just chatting with your producer for, 2 hours a week beforehand, telling every horrible relationship experience you've ever been in. Like all of these things, they know. So for me to think and accept that it's on the people who are coming on the show is just not acceptable for me, because if you're doing all of this thorough background and you're claiming, that this show is about finding people love, which is, by the way, what they sell you as I think they sell you different things when they're casting you based on your personality and what would get you the most interested in it. I got sold on finding love and all of that and all of, oh, well, maybe this is the experiment that will work. But when you're doing that and then you're not protecting people's safety, literal safety, and that's physical, that's mental, that's all of that, you're not doing a service to your audience. You're not doing a service to the cast who's making you all of this content for very little monetary value that you're going to make millions, if not billions off of. And then it's going to go, in some cases, ruin people's lives or cause them serious mental or physical distress. And it's all for the entertainment of others. And they don't want to even take responsibility for the people that they are casting.
Yeah.
It's mind blowing to me. It's like victim blaming.
It really is just about greed. And it boils down to, or you can trace it back to, at any rate, in the 90s, there was a talk show called The Jenny Jones Show. I don't know if you're familiar with this case.
Oh, yeah.
So there was a case where she did an episode that was people revealing their secret crushes. And one of the secret crushes were these two guys that were friends. And the one guy told the other guy, I've had a crush on you for the last 2 years or whatever. Oh my God, the crowd goes wild, all that kind of stuff. It was very much in the vein of like 90s sensationalist talk show, kind of Jerry Springer type stuff. That guy ends up killing the guy a few days later who came out to him and said, I had a crush on you. That guy's family then sues the Jenny Jones Show and Warner Brothers, who was the studio that produced it. They win the lawsuit. Warner Brothers then appeals it. They win the appeal. So it essentially sets legal precedent that means these production companies, these studios, are completely in the clear for anything that happens to you outside of literally the set of shooting. Now, where you get into interesting gray areas with like a show like Love is Blind, they don't shoot everything, but they are putting you in the situation. So you are living with the person in this apartment, but they may not be there shooting. And if they're not liable for anything that happens when there's not cameras rolling. And that's kind of like legally where that is. But don't they
always have like the security cam rolling, like in the living room and stuff?
You could speculate. I have speculated. I don't know for sure, but there's definitely times where like, wait a minute, there definitely were not cameras around when that was said or that was talked about. That's definitely a thing. And then, you wonder, is it they're hearing it from someone else, or if there is something in the room? I'll say too, and this has been kind of like, like talked about to death.
Got a Game of Thrones or Silo.
Like when we were in my ex and my scene in Mexico, I don't know how they had all that audio that they did for that scene, because I was the only one mic'd. And those mics are really directional because you're wearing them all the time. So they want to pick you up clear and then get rid of everything around you. And so I watched that scene. I don't watch it anymore, but when I would watch that scene, I was like, how did they get all of that audio? Because at one point I even took my mic off and threw it. So it makes you wonder, like, are the rooms mic'd? Are the apartments mic'd?
100%.
And then you
I would assume that they are.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, you have to.
And,
you have to assume.
Something that when you're talking about basically this billion-dollar corporation going up against Renee Poche, there is this ongoing kind of looming threat because they are so much bigger than you and you're like just a measly contestant in the situation. But it's in the contract that they can sue you if you don't make it to the altar, basically, if they're following you. But they're like, oh, but we never enforce it. But it's just like, there's the threat of it in there. Yeah. You'll have to pay $50,000. Maybe we'll choose to enforce it, And it's like, they could take that out if they're not ever going to use it, but they don't.
Right. Well, allegedly they did, and then I've seen later contracts, and it was still in there, which I think is I haven't seen like the most recent season contract, but it wasn't removed in the last one I saw. What are they on season 8 now, right? So I think it was probably season 6, maybe was the one I saw.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is like, why is it in there? And why are all these things they're never going to do and never going to enforce in there? Oh, well, they've always been in there. Time to change always. Just because we've always done it that way doesn't mean that's the way we should always do it. Right. But they're in there to plant that seed in the back of your head. And then they take someone like Renee and they're trying to make an example out of her. And for what? Like, what did she do that was so terrible? I didn't see anything that she did that was so terrible. Like, they put her in that situation and then told her she can't talk about it. So
it's wild.
There's no accountability or responsibility whatsoever for the safety or people who have been a victim speaking out. And I think that's such an archaic way of viewing things and really dampens a lot of the progress we've made about people being able to speak about what their experience has been and traumatic events or abuse that have happened to them.
Totally. I also think it's just a strange, from a creative standpoint, it's a weird way to go about producing your media, that you want the stars. Like I view all reality stars basically as like professional sports players on a team. And it would be like if the coach of the Kansas City Chiefs or the Philadelphia Eagles, not the coach, maybe the owner, came out and just said, we own you. And if you do anything against our will, we'll sue you for $4 million. Have a good game. You know, it's like,
have a good game.
How can you expect any of these reality performers to be delivering the best performances, therefore making the best media, if they're under some kind of constant legal or contractual threat? I just don't understand from the very base level why they would do it.
I think you're right about that, but I think the level of control is so important to them because of the dynamics of this show and shows like The Bachelor, where you are putting people in a completely manufactured environment. And I've heard from several producers that have worked on different shows. I've heard from like production assistants, storyline producers. A lot of this stuff is already written out and predetermined, and their goal is just to get you to start talking about it. So for them to put you in such a manufactured environment and expect you to like, I think of the Wedding Crashers scene where the kid is like, make me a bicycle clown with the with the balloon. If you remember that, like, that's what it feels like. It's like you're in a zoo and you're being told, make me a bicycle out of a balloon animal, because that's what they've scripted for you. And that's what your storyline is. And they'll find a way to get you to do that. And a lot of times there is no way to do that without abusing people. I mean, I've heard several stories from people on Married at First Sight, 90 Day Fiancé universe shows, and they will not let someone take a phone call from their kid who's calling over and over until they say what they want the cast member to say. And so then, you're a mother or a father and you may have an emergency with your child, and they're not going to let you take that phone call until you give them what they're looking for from a content perspective. And without the domination, one-sided, grand $50K if you leave, $4 million arbitration suits if you speak out about it, there would be far more people speaking out about it. So it's another lever that they have to control you in an already highly controlled environment, so that you don't talk about how controlled it is. Because and give the secret sauce recipe away, right?
And in Bachelor
Sorry.
I was just going to say, in Bachelor also, what you're talking about, that pre-scripted identity, that starts in casting. They're like, this is the villain, this is the fool, this is the whatever. And if you come into the game and you don't play the role they want you to play, like if you can see that, oh shit, they're lining me up to be the villain, I'm not going to do that. They want you to say something in an ITM and you're like, no thanks. They just get rid of you immediately. So it's like you kind of are completely beholden to this thing they've pre-scripted if you want to get benefit out of it. And then you have to start doing this thing in your head where you're like, well, shit, they're going to turn me into the villain, but maybe I can come back on Paradise. If I do what they say, maybe I'll at least get screen time. And now you're having to do the impossible math.
Or get on House of Villains.
Yeah, House of Villains, whatever. But you're having to try to figure out, like, is it worth me becoming a villain in this season to maybe have a potential career as a reality star, or is it going to destroy my life if I become a villain? And there's no way of really knowing that because the edit is completely in their hands. It's wild.
And then
I
you
think it's
can't
hilarious.
speak differently about it. No, you can't speak differently about it. There's people who are being, and by the way, like, now I'm going to probably sound a little too conspiratorial, but
not for Chad.
Yeah, no such thing, sir.
So I had this like huge, real, I guess like a reality check, I'll say. But what is so interesting about reality TV that I've learned over the last couple of years is I'm getting all this behind the scenes stuff different than my own experiences, is that it isn't about what you're watching on Netflix or on ABC or on Bravo or whatever. It's actually about, I mean, that's the base content, but the community plays such a big role in moving these storylines forward and giving you little extra pieces of content to talk about, to speculate about on Reddit, to post about on Instagram, to go follow content creators like yourself. And then you guys are creating, and you make such good content for such a long time now about these shows, especially The Bachelor, right?
That's so nice. Thanks.
But then you've got like the lower level people who are probably making content about you and critiquing what you say and critiquing. And then you've got the people that are on Reddit and the people that are on Instagram or the people that are on Twitter, and they're all talking and gossiping about what like this middle line of not that good content is. And then what's happening is you have Reddit threads that are being moderated by the production companies. So like the Love is Blind threads, everything related to UCAN always gets deleted. And
wait. They are the moderators on the forums?
Or they are in control of the moderators or something to that extent, because they're moderating it. And then what you find that happens, and I actually looked into this from, oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. Anyway, I heard from someone that basically there's like bots or people that'll go into Reddit and they'll just like type words based on what the storyline of that person is. So if someone is being cast as or portrayed as a villain or a bad person or a racist or a sexist or whatever that is, there will be people commenting and putting that word in there to obviously run up the SEO, right? Yep. And then keep those comments towards the top. It's like not just about what the content is on TV. It's about the community involvement.
For sure.
And reinforcing the narrative.
Yeah. Or again, one of the Love is Blind seasons, there was a leak right before the reunion that someone went on and they had a girlfriend or a fiance or something. I forget the details, a couple of years ago.
That was the last two seasons.
Was that? Yeah.
It happened twice.
Those things are getting out because they're being leaked to influencers
and
content creators.
Well, I mean, last season of Love is Blind had the biggest story was the Tyler Francis thing, where he had these 3 kids and he was lying on camera about the nature of the relationship. But then the mother of the children came out and said, no, look, here's a video of him on Thanksgiving or on the kid's birthday or whatever. And that story became too big to contain. Everybody was covering it.
Exactly.
But when they
and then you're speculating, and there's rumors, and then rumors take on a life of their own.
Absolutely,
you don't even know what's real.
But to your point of like controlling the narrative, or the show or the production company controlling the narrative, when they came to the reunion, that couple was held aloft as like one of the A couples because they did get married. And the woman in that couple, Ashley Adoncier, was like standing by her man. And Tyler Francis was like, I've said everything I need to say on this. And they let him skate with that. Then they turn immediately to the guy who had the girlfriend and who was sending, dirty text messages during a sleep study and all this stuff. And they hold him up as like, this is the guy we're going to crucify. Forget this dude who lied about his kids. They're married and they're happy. The process works. However, you are the villain, sir, and we need to kick you in the balls 500 times. And for the astute viewer, for anybody who's following what you're talking about, this like peripheral media that serves to like forward these stories outside the context of the main document of the show, if you're watching that shit, you can see right through the game that is being played by the Lachey's, who are just out there like, so you're the bad guy, he's the good guy. And it's like, you're all the bad guy. This is insane.
You're all the bad guy.
Yeah. All that
We're the bad guy watching.
Keeps escalating. It just keeps escalating every season. And that's like, to tie it back to some of the other stuff we were talking about earlier, at what point is like something really seriously bad going to happen to someone because of this?
Yeah.
Right. We've already seen people die by suicide on others from Love Island, from several other shows. Yeah. We've already seen that. We can, dance around what was causing it or whatever. But I can tell you from my own experience, and I'm very mentally strong and very resilient, but I mean, there were moments when I was like, everything, like I could handle this in real life, but I can't handle it with the world commenting on it every single day.
No.
You know, it's just a different level.
Even people who haven't done it have discussed, you know, wanting to do it based on things that have happened in the show. One of my favorite oddities is that the Lachey's always are calling it an experiment. And I'm like, wait, so is this a scientific experiment? And I saw some comment online that was like, if this is a science experiment, it is the most unethical setup of if it were treated as that, it would be so unethical, you wouldn't be allowed to do it. But they're allowed to do it because it's reality TV. It's great.
I think that's spot on. And I don't think you could find many psychologists or psychiatrists or therapists that would look at this and say this is genuinely
Absolutely.
experiment.
I mean, I've heard tale, I don't know if this is true or not, but I have heard this in the back channels of the Bachelor world. They have an on-set therapist, and it has been told to me that therapist relays anything told to them directly to the producers. I mean, that I don't even think is legal, let alone ethical, you know?
No.
So
I've heard that too, by the way. So
yeah, I mean,
other shows,
other shows, but particularly of The Bachelor. And I've also heard in an interesting thing with Love is Blind, you as the person who went through the psychological exam and should have HIPAA rights to your background check and your, or not your background check, your psychological evaluation. I can't get mine. They won't give it to me. So it's like, they're actually using those psychological exams, in my belief, they're using those exams and those evaluations to build their characters that they're going to cast for the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
And so no matter how you look at it, like there's ethical considerations here. Like one of the things we're doing with the foundation is trying to have Dr. Isabel Morley, who's the psychologist that is on our board of directors and a co-founder. She's taking steps to work with the APA to get like codes of ethics around working in reality TV in the mental health profession because of things like this, because you're sitting there and you're incredibly vulnerable and you're talking to this person who's supposed to be your advocate as a therapist, right? You're supposed to have a very strong therapeutic relationship with, and everything you tell them is getting fed back.
Yeah.
Like that there's very, very big codes being broken there. They just haven't been written for reality TV specifically yet.
Yeah.
So I think we're at a place now where there's enough reality TV that we need to have some codes of ethics around it for mental health professionals.
100% agree. Yeah. And to that end, right now, the National Labor Relations Board has this kind of open case against Netflix that is built off the back of the work you guys are doing at UCAN. And they're essentially saying, reality performers are employees and therefore they have to be protected by employee rights in whatever state or country that may take place in. Can you talk a little bit about where that case is, what your involvement in it is, how you're helping them?
Absolutely. So I actually just talked about this on the Wall Street Journal podcast that came out yesterday.
Nice.
Thank you. The interesting thing is they filed. So back in what are we in 2025, 2023, after we started the UCAN Foundation, one of the things that I was looking at was, is this contract legal? Like, are there pieces in this contract that from a labor perspective, from a human rights perspective, are there things here that are illegal? And this kind of prompted me from the lawsuit that Jeremy had. And then this was this later? No, this was my years. The years blend together for you guys. Like the last few
everything
years,
since the pandemic is like 1 6-month period to me.
And January was 10 years.
Totally.
So
yeah, exactly. You're spot on. But with Bethany Frankel and the Reality Reckoning and doing all of this with lawyers and trying to sue for mistreatment and abuse and all of that, like there's an element to that. But ultimately what that does is that gets you a settlement, or it gets you, whatever you're asking for in damages, but it doesn't fundamentally change the foundation
for the people who are going in,
right, of how these shows are made and why they're made the way they're made. And so, I know a little bit about labor because I think we talked about this last time, but like I'm a lefty come from the working class. Like my dad built elevators and now he's or not elevators, refrigerators. And now he's, an electrician. So like I come from this background of, I was in a union at 15 when I worked at the grocery store. So like, I know how these things work a little bit. And so then I realized I got a W-2 from the production. And that clicked in my head. I'm like, that means you're an employee. Well, why would that be issued? So then I was thinking with Jeremy's case, it was violation of California labor law, where they have probably some of the most pro-worker labor, if not the most, in the country. So there's like overtime pay requirements. Like if you work a certain number of hours, you're automatically an employee. There's all sorts of things in California that aren't in other cases. So then I was thinking like, well, maybe they filed in California with a W-2, so they weren't violating labor laws, but then our contract said that we're contractors. So there's like a conflict here. And I think they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. And then I talked to someone who also joined our board who works in the Teamsters Union in Minnesota. And so she's like, I think you should file this with the NLRB. And so I talked to her and I decided to file a charge with the NLRB under the idea that because of the amount of time we worked, because of the way that they pretty much take over control of you for 3 weeks. And then significantly after that, once you get out of the pods and come back from your trip. And then I was thinking to myself, I'm like, all of this stuff kind of makes me think that this contract might have us misclassified. And if we can get a classification of being an employee from the National Labor Relations Board, all of a sudden there's going to be now there's 30 plus. I didn't think it was going to be 30 plus. There's 30 plus clauses in that contract that would be illegal if we were classified as employees. And so that's what the NLRB conducted their investigation for. It was also something that we at the foundation helped Renee Poche do. So this is her and my joint case against Kinetic and Delirium regarding the National Labor Relations Board and Love is Blind. But we've also helped other cast members from other shows who went through similar experiences that kind of met this sort of criteria that's the same and help them do the same thing. But what we need to do with this case is we need this to set a precedence, right? Because it only covers Love is Blind. But if it covers Love is Blind, all of a sudden we have precedence. And now other people from other shows can do the same thing. And theoretically, when you get that employee, and I'm trying to keep this light, but when you get that employee designation and a judge rules that you're an employee, and they can appeal it all the way to the Supreme Court, which is probably what's going to happen if it goes in our direction. But you get that, then you can unionize, then you get paid an hourly rate, then you get overtime, then you get mandated breaks, then you can have collective bargaining for residuals. All of these things that you can't do because of that contract basically being one-sided and not labor friendly at all, and not even treating you like you're a worker, then, all of that stuff foundationally has to change. And so that was why I decided to file the charge. That was why I decided to help others do that, because there is no unionization. There is no collective bargaining. There are no residuals. There are no rights. There are no breaks. If you sign that contract, you are stuck in those NDAs. You can't talk about your working condition until you change the classification from contractor to employee by the federal government. And that's what I'm trying to do with this.
Yeah, I mean, when I read that, I was like, this is a different level now. When you've got the National Labor Relations Board filing this like formal complaint, it's like, that's just a different deal, because now it's not just people on these shows, which can be disregarded by the public, I think, as like, oh, they're just whining, whatever, they didn't get enough screen time. This is like a giant governmental body saying, no, something bad is happening here. And
I think the churn of that is like factoring in, because it's like, especially on Love is Blind, it's not the same character. So you can settle with one group and they'll be quiet, but it continues on. So I assume you're not watching the show anymore, but Love is Blind, totally makes sense. But Love is Blind season 8, Minnesota, starts tomorrow, Friday. If you could tell all of the players who are about to have their lives turned upside down during this watch back period, one thing, what would it be?
I found that the most helpful thing for me, and I actually was focused on this even before my season came out, is you have to separate yourself from what you see on TV and not let it define you. Because what you're seeing on there is highly curated. It's a lot of times not real, not having the right context. You didn't say this to that person, you said it to another person, and there's some editing tricks, especially in those pods, that they can do. So try and just separate yourself from the edit, and remember that, like, you know your truth, and the people that love you and care about you, no matter what happens, are still going to love you and care about you, no matter how you're portrayed on TV. And then I would also, as a second piece, just tell people, be kind to others, be kind to your cast members, viewers, be kind to the cast members, even if they do stupid things or are, not being the best kind of people. Like, it's a lot of pressure, and you don't know, even if you think you might know.
Yeah.
Yeah, great advice. We always tell everybody that too. Don't send mean DMs. If you want to send a DM, send one of support saying, I loved what you're doing this season, or I feel sorry for how they cut you or something, but never send a mean DM to anybody on these shows. Because like you're saying, you have no idea what the reality of the situation is. Literally none.
I didn't even think about that. The cross-cutting with the pods, making it even more likely that you're going to get your dialogue used in a different situation because you can't tell who they're talking to.
Yeah. And if you guys followed, again, this was 2 seasons ago. This was Charlotte, Matthew Dubala. I had him on my podcast, and he was cut into a villain. They kept making it look like he was walking out on women during dates.
Yeah.
And it like completely disrupted his entire life in really bad ways. And he never did that. They just edited him leaving the pods and made it look like he was doing it to women. And he didn't do it to one woman. And by the way, they all came out and said that to be true. So it wasn't just him, claiming he was getting a bad edit, trying to hide poor behavior. Like, the cast thankfully came to his aid and defended him. And that's what I also think cast members should do. You guys should stick together no matter what happens, because at the end of the day, you guys went through a lot together. And, you don't have to like everyone, but like, I think you kind of have to recognize you're all going through this, and you're all going through it together, even if you're going through it differently.
100%. And I think in Love is Blind world specifically, there's so much time that elapses between when you shot your season and when you're called back to do that reunion. It's almost a year in some cases.
Yeah.
As a collective.
Minnesota was last spring, so it's been almost a year.
Yeah. Wild. And the reunion probably won't air for another month-ish. You have so much time.
By the way, they'll film that like the week before. So they'll have seen it, and then they get to go in all hot and bothered. So like for us, I'm not sure exactly how it is now, if it's changed, but like for us, the last wedding episode didn't air. And the day we were traveling, we all got encrypted iPads with the last episode. And then the next day we filmed the reunion. So people were just fresh off of, how did this thing end?
Yeah.
It's, not great for everyone. So they just get you all like triggered up and wound up, and then heading into that reunion, and that's how you get all that fun.
Smart.
I think the most power collectively any seasonal kind of group of players has is going into that reunion. Right now, anybody who's on this Minnesota season, you should be talking to each other constantly about the edit, about what is real and what is not, and you should go to that reunion loaded for bear. When you sit on those couches, you should have everything planned out that you want to say or talk about or not, and don't let the producers and the Lachey's control what happens in that, because you have complete control over it.
Unionize.
And you guys should you maybe should consider unionizing, because right now, with where we are in the NLRB, you can.
Yeah, exactly. And the work that you guys are doing at UCAN is also absolutely phenomenal and integral to all this. We can't thank you enough for doing that, because we've been trying to, from our little meager pulpit here, trying to like kind of preach that for the past multiple years. And it's just, I feel like it's a very important thing that has to happen. I think it is going to happen in the very near future, largely because of what you're doing at UCAN.
Well, thank you. I know I appreciate that. We all do. And I think so too. It's like you said earlier, there's cracks in the dam, and, you can plug that one, but then there's going to be another one, and then there's another one, and then you can't plug them all.
For sure.
Yes. And hopefully we'll have you back soon to talk about more of those unpluggings as we get some updates, and let us know how we can support, because we are obsessed with reality TV, but we want it to be made in an ethical way.
And I think
Which
it
shouldn't
can
be that hard a bar to cross.
Like, we're all dramatic without the manufactured
Yeah.
stories. Like, think about, I think about this a lot. I think about The Bachelor and Love is Blind, probably the most of the reality TV shows, right? And I think about like how controlled the environments are and how people are going to be kind of dysregulated from their everyday life anyway. So you may not get the extreme drama of casting someone who has 3 kids and a girlfriend and lied about all of it. But like, you're going to get the drama of people that are actually trying to navigate relationships or potential relationships with multiple people. And in this highly controlled environment where they're tired, they're stressed, and they're hungry, and even if they're not hungry, right? Like, because we're feeding them now, but there's going to be natural drama that comes out of that, and it's going to be more relatable and more authentic, and help people navigate new relationship conflicts, maybe with an actual counselor that can be like, here's how you can communicate when you're highly stressed. Learn how to. I
think that would be great. And like show people how, like, what actually happens in couples counseling and how to have better relationships and stuff. Yes. I do think the format, just like Bachelor, lends itself to the drama. You don't need to be withholding food. I did like that they added a bunch of food in the reunion special a couple seasons ago. I think in response to this whole thing.
Totally. On Love is Blind, it's like, I call it food propaganda. Mm-hmm. It's just beautiful montages of the most colorful food you could imagine.
But they really did only start doing that in response to the allegation that people weren't being fed. It's absolutely wild. Like, that's how they solve the problem, is not by like looking at the problem and fixing it. It's by showing the facade of a solution, which is what all reality TV is anyway.
Entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. But Nick, we can't thank you enough for joining us. Please let everybody know where they can find all your stuff and help support UCAN.
Absolutely. You can find UCAN on Instagram. Just search UCAN Foundation. Our website
How do you spell UCAN?
UCAN Foundation.
Great.
And then we have theucanfoundation.org is our website, and get involved there. I talk a lot about it on my social too, which is Thompson513. You can just search my name. I appreciate the support, and I appreciate you guys wanting to catch up on this. And always kind of being a advocate for reality TV as workers and people that should not be exploited or mentally or physically harmed for entertainment.
Totally. I mean, to me, it's like I said, it's like professional sports. You have the best professional sports when the players are happy and well taken care of. Then they can play at the highest degree. It's like when you're beating them down, you get bad product, in my opinion. So it's a win-win, I think, if we can change all this stuff.
I think so too.
Thanks again, Nick, for joining us. And
you'll get more people wanting to apply when it doesn't look like a hellscape to be a part of.
It is funny because I have had people that I've talked to now that are like, I was going through it, I was doing this, and I don't even tell them not to do it. I just try to tell them what to expect. Yeah. Right. Because it's not my place to tell people what to do, but people are kind of waking up to what could really happen if they go on this show, and it isn't just all 15 minutes of fame and influencer deals.
Yeah, God. Well, we'll see what happens. Hopefully that reality union is going to happen soon. But yeah, man, thanks so much for coming on, and we'll have you back soon to update on any of this stuff.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nick.
No problem. We can't thank Nick Thompson enough for joining us for that incredible interview. A lot of insight given about what is the future of potential unionization for reality players. Now, we talked
so much. He has the tea seller of all tea sellers, it sounds like.
and gaining tea by the second, because I think any player who gets disgruntled by any of these franchises comes to him, and rightly so. But we mentioned something in that conversation with him about the current players in Love is Blind Season 8. We are speaking to you directly now, if you're listening to this podcast.
Dear Love is Blind Minnesota Season 8, are you listening? Turn up the volume.
Hopefully someone is. You have the most power you're ever going to have right now during this watch back. You should all be contacting one another and coming up with a coherent game plan to take complete control of the reunion. It will be the only time that you're going to have control over what goes into that edit potentially. If you all come together and you say, don't tell the producers this before you get there, literally show up to the reunion, then all
In
come
your
together.
outfits.
Yeah, put on the outfits, whatever you want to do, and then come together as a group and tell the producers, we want 10 minutes at the beginning of this reunion to talk about a reality performers union. It all must be aired and in the edit, and we need that in writing, or we're going to sit there and say nothing. Good luck with
First
your
10.
reunion. The first 10 minutes,
Good
15
luck.
minutes, whatever. You can make some kind of a demand, and you can be the season that gets this ball into the end zone. Right now, the momentum is building with Bethany Frankel, with everything that's happening with UCAN, with the National Labor Relations Board, all this stuff. The ball's on the 1 yard line.
Teamsters. Everything is set up. Exactly. It is all set up to just do this one thing, but it requires an entire cast of a show to unionize.
You need whoever the A couple is to be on your side too. So you're going to have to.
We're especially talking to you.
Yeah.
You need A couple. You're going to get a lot of benefits, but please help us in this.
Absolutely.
Please. And enjoy your love.
And it will be, even if it is unsuccessful this time around, it will be successful the next time. And you will go down in the history of Love is Blind as the most influential cast that has ever existed. It is a way for players who might not have gotten a lot of screen time to align yourselves with a movement taking place in reality television to make the working conditions better for everybody who's in these shows, yourselves included, assuming that you go on to other third wave shows, which many of you will. There's going to be some people off this season who wind up on the next season of Perfect Match. That's a guarantee. Well, not the next season. I think that's already shot, but the one after, or maybe they already shot it with them because they shot this season a year ago too. At any rate,
You are workers. You are making so much money for these corporations. You deserve to have good working conditions. You deserve to have food. You deserve to have water. You deserve to have breaks. All of the rights that people doing work on other types of content creation already, like the WGA, which is protecting writers, like the Screen Actors Guild, which is protecting actors. Reality players don't have this. They are at the whim and mercy. And it's like, Chad and I do not want to watch unethically made television. It is not, we want it to be made in a way that is protecting the people. And we do truly believe that will create the best content.
yeah,
ultimately.
absolutely. I couldn't even get through Beast Games. I had to bail. Episode 5 or 6, I think. I was just like, I can't keep watching this. It's too sinister. Which is
so
that's
happy
saying
you
something.
quit.
I've watched every season of The Bachelor, and I can't watch one season of Beast Games. All right, let's move on. Again,
too sinister for this demon.
yeah, look at my demonic face now. It looks like I've just risen from hell, and I still have the burn marks to show it.
I just got out of Beast Games. But yeah, Love is Blind season 8. There are groups that you can get connected with, but I would align all of you, meet up and align on the strategy. You don't need technically everyone, but you really do need that A couple. You really do need the stars of the season. I don't think pod squads can really accomplish this because you need to be the people that are the important roles at the reunion. But I do think we can do this. Like when I actually think about Chris Harrison getting fired.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of factors that led into that. Obviously, the main one is Michael Strahan.
I mean, the main one is Chris Harrison.
I'm just kidding.
I mean,
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like, I don't know. I don't know if we want to give Strahan all the credit.
I thought that was so. He blames Strahan.
He does?
I digress.
Jesus.
He's gone off about Strahan. I mean, I don't know who he really believes, but regardless, I've been completely derailed.
Yeah, me too. I'm just going back to that era.
That Bachelor in Paradise season, the season right before Katie Thurston took over as crown, all of the players on Matt James' season unionized and put out the exact same Parasocial play supporting Rachel Lindsay. And then the previous Bachelorette cast members also put out their own joint play. And guess what? Katie Thurston then did a tweet.
Yeah.
All of these things all combined, he did his thing to Michael Strahan, and he was literally taken off his throne that he had been on for decades. Like,
yeah,
real change can be enacted by the powerless.
And that was all done through social media. What we're suggesting is you take control of the actual show. You can't take control of the season. That's already done. It's shot. They're going to edit it however they want to edit it. And you may become the villain, the fool. You might be the A couple. We don't know how the season will bear out until we watch it. But that reunion is not shot yet. They're going to shoot it in about a month. And you're all going to have to show up to it. You're contractually obligated, but you're not contractually obligated to say or do anything on that set. You can sit there and say nothing. Or every time they ask you a question, you can simply look into one of the cameras and say, we want a union for reality performers, and say nothing else. You can have that be every answer to every question if you want.
Union for reality performers, help me, I've been kidnapped.
Yeah, blink twice. You simply have the most power you're ever going to have in terms of getting that show to do something or to even push this kind of movement forward. And I know the A couples are going to be looking at this like, well, we came out of this as superstars and my life is great and we're married and everything's fine. You have no reason to.
And they didn't treat us badly.
Yeah, exactly. But the truth of it is they rely on the A couples to never make waves so that this can continue to happen again and again and again. Some players will receive fair treatment or good treatment. Most will not. And it's the ones who don't that really need the help of everybody coming together collectively to get this done. So hopefully.
Like, for instance, if it were in The Bachelor, it would require a bachelor who did really well to respect people outside the final four and not just say that they are bitter.
Oh, man. Shots fired. Nick Vial, the great one. Okay, let's move on to that next portion of our program where we're talking about the ratings and the Instagram movements of all of our favorite players. This is
This Week in
Games. All right, we got some bad news to report on the ratings this week. Grant's episode came in 4th place out of 4 in terms of the major networks. The Voice on NBC was number 1. It is not. The Voice was number 1 with a 0.49 in the demo. The Neighborhood was number 2 on CBS with a 0.39. Extracted on Fox was in 3rd place with a 0.38. And Grant's Bachelor brought up the rear with a 0.36. Youch.
Oof.
Now, this might be due to the announcement that there is no Bachelorette as well, because what happens, and we're going to get to this in news, but what happens when you announce there's no Bachelorette is people become less interested in all the women who are on the current season that might be that next Bachelorette. So you essentially destroy the season that's airing currently when you make that announcement as well. Just a bad decision all around. Anyways, let's move on to our Instagram gains.
I hate it. On Instagram, our lead Grant Ellis put on 6,000 Instagram followers, bringing him to 110K. This ain't looking good for our 500K Grant Ellis prediction clues.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen now because of Bachelorette. I think Grant's season is essentially a dead season.
Yeah.
I just think
it's taking all the power out of it. It's not going to crown.
There's no steam in the entire franchise now because they've taken... The Bachelorette is the most important show in the whole thing because Bachelor is where the rookies come in. Bachelorette is where we get to see one of those rookies ascend to the throne. It's the most important part of the story of the Bachelor franchise, and they just cut it out.
And you're following those people into paradise.
Yeah, that too.
Well, what is also not gaining traction is Grant Ellis's TikTok. He put on 1.7K this week, bringing him to 24.6K total. Oh, man.
Let's take a look now at our Instagram gains for some of the players. In 5th place, we got Rebecca Garrett. She put on 3.2K this week.
Swan song is a bump,
I guess.
4th place, Alex Godin put on 3.3K on Instagram.
Juliana Quijano is in 3rd place with an additional 3.8K.
Experimental t-shirt player Chloe Costello gained the 2nd most with 7.8K.
And Latia Gar is in 1st place with a gain of 8.9K.
Now for that top 5 Instagram chart for our rookies. 5th place is Juliana Pascarosa. She has 22,000 Instagram followers.
4th place is Carolina Quijano at 22.7K.
3rd place, Chloe Costello, 23.4K.
2nd place is Alicia Gupta, 30.8K.
And first place, top of the mountain, Rebecca Garrett, 57.5K, despite not being in the document.
She might take that away for the whole season. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what happens to Grant's season with this
announcement. Someone's got to get 100K.
I don't know.
A ring winner? You don't think a ring winner is going to?
I don't know.
I mean, we're not going to get a next Bachelorette announcement. I know. Look, I'm just trying to see a positive.
We can talk about the positives. We're going to talk about this in news, and there may be some positives we can discuss. But
first, let's briefly go through our TikTok gains. 5th place, Allie Jo Hanks put on 1.3K on TikTok.
Nice. Alicia Gupta put on 1.7K.
Rose Samke, 1.8K in third.
Latia Garz in second with a plus 5.3K.
And Alex Godin got the biggest gain, 5.7K on TikTok. And now for that top 5 chart. Christina Smith is rounding out the top 5 with 13,000 TikTok followers.
Carolina Quijano's in 4th place with 13.7K TikTok followers.
Alex Godin's in 3rd with 14.6K.
Bailey Brown, 2nd place with 18.7K.
And Alicia Gupta, gone from the document, but at the top of our charts, 29.8K on TikTok.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes. I don't have high hopes for any of these players, unfortunately. Let's move on to talk about why that is the case in This Is. Bachelor Nation News. First up in Bachelor Nation News, there will be no Bachelorette this year. The shocking news was reported in Deadline last Friday. This will be the first time since the Bachelorette adopted a yearly seasonal cycle in 2008 with Bachelorette Season 4, Deanna Pappas, that the show is going to take a year off.
No information has been offered as to why this catastrophic decision was made for the franchise, but there are some theories swirling in the nation. On the Almost Famous podcast, Rachel Recchia revealed that she thinks the lead was already selected, but something went wrong, similar to last season with Maria Georges. Ashley Iaconetti added that she thought the usual Bachelorette time slot was gonna be given to the Mormon Housewives show due to higher ratings.
The Dark Lord Jesse Palmer weighed in on the disastrous creative malpractice on a recent episode of, quote, Playing the Field podcast. He said, "The good news is I know it's not going away. I know it's definitely coming back. Without being able to get into too much of the creative decisions on it, I know that when it does, I just think it's going to be absolutely tremendous." Spoken like a true Dark Lord.
Jesse Palmer is going to be the Bachelorette.
I'm down with that.
Whether the Bachelorette comes back or not is, in our opinion, meaningless. The damage that skipping a cycle will do to this franchise will be irreparable in a reality dating arena that is constantly filling up with new, better produced shows like Love Island and Love is Blind. We will continue covering the story as new developments occur. I don't think it's gone forever. I do still think The Bachelor will outlive me, but this is the closest I've ever felt to feeling like the show is going to be canceled.
Me too.
Period.
And I don't know. There are money decisions that are behind some of these things. If what Ashley I is saying is true, that they're just going to give that time slot to Mormon Housewives because it has better ratings, it's like, well, why wouldn't they just make both shows though? If what you're seeing with Grant's season, I think is kind of unique that he now is losing every week and not just coming in second. He's getting demolished by every other network. I think this decision has something to do with that. There's just there's no steam left in it, because when you tell the viewing audience, oh, there's no Bachelorette this season, it's like, but I'm watching this whole season to see who's going to be the next Bachelorette. So what am I even watching it for? They've done, like, this announcement shouldn't have been announced, honestly.
No.
It should have just not come out.
Exactly. Why even announce it? And especially why announce it during Grant's season? Mm-hmm. It's almost vindictive towards Grant.
Now, wait, though. That said, Rachel Recchia said they picked a Bachelorette and it didn't work out. I don't know if that's true, but
so
if it is,
that?
I don't know. I don't know who it would be, but if it's true, let's say it's like Carolina, for example. I don't know that that's true. Just an example. Mm-hmm. Let's say it's her
I'm listening.
And let's say it gets into a Maria George's kind of situation. They shoot with her for a couple of days and either she can't handle the pressure or they're like, we can't work with her, whatever. And they decide eject on her. Should we fill that slot? They then remember back to Jen Tran and they say, no way, that was too hard. Now, here's the thing about Jen Tran. Jen Tran's season, I think, would have been much better or at least more well received had they not just made that one bad decision to have her rewatch the proposal after the hot seat. That decision was made by one of the EPs still completely in control of the show. So that EP now, assuming what Rekia said is true, that EP now is faced with, oh God, it's happening again. The Bachelorette that we picked doesn't want to be Bachelorette. I know what I did last season. That didn't make me look good. So rather than try to change the creative ideas that they're going to have for after the final rose, fuck it, pull the plug entirely. Because it gets to a point where like ABC makes the final call, the network. So the producers can come to ABC if what Rekia is saying is true, and we don't know if it is, that they already selected somebody. The producers can say, yeah, we picked her, but it didn't work out.
Why would she say that if it's not true?
I don't know.
It's a wild accusation.
She may not know if it's true. She may be hearing things from people, but like, who the fuck knows? Like, only a handful of people really know the answers to these things. But it could be a situation where the producers then go back to ABC and they're like, look, this is happening all over again. The last one ended a disaster. We can't do it. And ABC's like, fine, we'll take a year off, figure things out. The problem is that taking the year off opens this window for people to watch other shows. It demolishes the momentum of the Bachelor franchise. It reduces your male players in this season of Paradise by half. So you're going to have to be going back in time and dusting off Chris Bukowski or something. Like, you know what I mean?
Hey, no, he's in love. He has a paramour.
Sure, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like Aaron Clancy, I don't know. Who are you going to put on that season that isn't from Jen Tran's season?
I think this is my best guess, and I know nothing. My best guess is it's a casting problem. They can't cast men without them being predators. And they're just like, let's kick it down the line until we get a good cast.
But it's like your audience is
that
gone
we know
by that
don't
point.
have. I don't think it's smart, but
I just think
I think
that
it's I think it's a bad idea. I think especially announcing it is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Who are you announcing it for?
I don't know.
What is the point?
I literally don't know. I mean, as you know, I coach players to go into this franchise. My across the board recommendation is go into another franchise. Yeah. It's just not worth it at this point. You get nothing out of it. And now if this is a possibility, we're like, okay, well, maybe next year they'll have it. I guess like maybe they won't. You're going into this process where you're going to give up 2 months of your working life. You're going to go under this psychological duress for however long you can make it through the game. And there's no guarantee that you will even have the Bachelorette as a possible outcome. It's like, that's what we're all playing for. Everything else is kind of like, yeah, if I can go on Paradise, great, or whatever. But everybody's playing to be the Bachelorette. If that's gone,
that's the big prize.
Yeah, I don't.
Or true love.
I just don't see how they regain relevance without essentially making an entirely new show that has none of the current executive producer tier and is shot different and looks different and is in a different place and maybe even has a little bit of a different game mechanic or premise or something. Like if you come back after taking a year off, the shit gotta be very fucking good and very fucking different and maybe
modernized.
Yeah, we'll see what the season of Paradise looks like. If it comes,
they're still trying. They're still trying in Grant season. You can tell they're doing the slow-mo shots, trying to get Love Island, but just get all of the Love Island people, to produce it.
Yeah, hire them away from the better show. Hi, we're a worse show that pays you less money.
We're going to pay you less money, and it will be a more stressful working environment. Yeah, although I think it's stressful working on any of those shows.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, we don't know what's going to happen. We'll cover it as more news comes out about it. But yeah, it's very bad.
Okay. Because we don't know what the real answer is, I'm going to just assume it's the best possible reason. And it's that they cast Zendaya. However, her film shoots got moved for Dune 3.
Sure.
So she has to postpone it to be 2026. And they're like, you know what? Let's just ramp up to that and cast really well for her.
Interesting. I will object to that. I don't think that's accurate, but I hope it is.
Could be true. We don't know.
I hope it is. We'll see. Let's move on. Up next in Bachelor Nation news.
I think she has a paramour also.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet, the Kwisatz Haderach, Paul Atreides.
That's not her
Usul.
paramour. It's a Spider-Man person.
Oh, Tom Holland.
I don't know.
That's him. Up next in Bachelor Nation news, we finally have confirmation about the real reason Beverly Ortega left the current season of The Bachelor after only being told she was sick in this week's episode and couldn't make her scheduled one-on-one date with Ellis.
During the Tuesday, February 11th episode of Bachelor Happy Hour, Beverly confirmed that it was her appendix that forced her IFI self-elimination. Beverly said, I take a nap and I wake up. My stomach's hurting. I'm like, okay, maybe I should go to the bathroom, or the food didn't sit well. Maybe it's a poop baby. Shouldn't say that. And I start throwing up. I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to get it out, whatever. So my stomach is continuing to hurt. I'm like in excruciating pain, continuing to throw up. It's like a mess. This goes on for 12 hours. So after 3 hours of being in the ER, the doctor came in and he said, you have appendicitis. You need emergency surgery.
Ortega underwent surgery the next day and traveled home to Howard Beach, New York, shortly after the procedure. When asked if she'd want to get another shot at fame and love on the stinging sands of paradise, Ortega said, yeah, 1,000%. Only because I feel like if I would have made it further, I probably wouldn't have considered paradise. But because I didn't make it that far, yes, because I do want to get married. I'm 30 years old. I'm ready for kids and family. I've always been a relationship type of girl. And so that was like my intention going on The Bachelor. First of all,
she's got to touch sand.
She will 100% be on sand.
Arc.
They will give it to her 100%, and they will make some bad jokes about her appendectomy, I am sure. Now,
yeah.
When we recap this, I said this was my error of the game, that she self-eliminated. I still believe that to be true.
Oh, doubling down.
Yes.
Let's go.
Because here's what you do.
This is one of the most painful things you could go through, Chad.
I know. In college, in film school, you had to have a partner and you would help each other with your projects or whatever. And she didn't show up to my sound mix for my final senior project. And I was like, what the fuck? And this is pre-cell phone.
Error of the game.
No, I knew something was drastically wrong because she was always very like on time, had her ducks in a row and stuff. So I went to do my sound mix and then I had to go all the way home to find the message on my voicemail or my, what are they used to call? They had like a little tape recorder.
Answering machine?
Answering machine. I can't even remember what it's called. And
he's been badly burned.
Yeah, her appendix burst on the way to the sound mix and she had to go into emergency surgery. She was fine ultimately, but I understand the severity of this. I'm simply saying you could have milked it. You could have milked it a little more
there's still
and maybe
time to milk
stayed
it.
in the show. Have the appendix removed
in bed
and then come back to the show.
Yeah, do the recovery on the show.
Yes,
be
now that's
fully
a real
in bed.
IFI.
They wheel you around.
Yeah.
They did it for Table Rick. They did it for Tabletop. He got wheeled around.
She could have suggested, let's still have the one-on-one and let Grant be the one to take out my appendix. You want to talk about ratings?
We have precedent. Trista Sutter taking care of Alex Michelle when he was sick during their fantasy suite.
Yeah. Connor and Hannah
There's
Brown.
precedent.
Remember that one?
But no, I do not think this was the error. I think this is a perfectly good reason to leave the show, and I can't wait to see her touch sand.
Yeah,
for
they do
redemption.
owe her. She will get sand.
As she dates some guy from season 4 of The Bachelorette.
Oh, God. For real. There's just going to be a 50-year-old dude wandering around in there. What's up, ladies?
Byron Belvick's back, baby.
Maybe the Golden Mansion men. They'll throw them in the mix just to pad out the guys. This is
could see that. Throwing some Goldens.
Pascal.
Up next. Chalk's not going to let Pascal touch sand.
Yeah.
Chalk says, fuck you, Pascal.
Pascal's chatting up like Beverly, let's say, or maybe Parisa. Oh, I see you on The Bachelor.
Oh.
I know you have to take appendix out. You get your time cut short, but here on beach, we have all the time in the world. And then you just see some disturbance in the waves.
I have scars on my heart.
Yeah. You just see Chalk. Oh! sprinting out of the water, rising from the surface.
Disturbance in the waves.
You're too old for her. Tackles him. This is the paradise we need. After what we're being put through now.
We definitely need Chalk to somehow be rowing into sand to take Pascal off.
Rising from the water.
Up next in Bachelor Nation news, the male Instagram champion of the nation, Tyler Cameron, and Gore Girl Jason Turdick face backlash over Super Bowl story posts giving their opinions that Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance was the worst of all time. Are you serious?
Yes, they both did this. I couldn't believe it.
Oh my God.
I guess they were both there and they were like taking pictures of the field. Rachel Lindsay weighed in on Cameron's post, which was a picture of the field during Lamar's performance along with the caption, quote, "And the worst halftime performance goes to ... should have been Lil Wayne." In response, Lindsay wrote in the comments, "Oh, you just didn't get it, friend." Lindsay went further to explain her response on her podcast, Higher Learning, with her co-host,
Keeping
Van
it
Lathan.
100.
Yeah. And by the way, if you haven't listened to Higher Learning, is just like one of the best podcasts that is within the Bachelor world, period. But the episode they did where they're talking about the Super Bowl, it came out this week. Please check it out. It's absolutely incredible. She said on this podcast, "When I say you don't get it, it's also, oh, you don't get me." That was also met with the comments of how people responded to me. She said, "Oh, here's Rachel again, being angry, making it about race. No, it's just obvious you didn't get the performance. You weren't trying to understand it. It's okay to say you didn't like it, or I don't know Kendrick songs, but that it was the worst, or that it's trash, or that you don't get it, it also means you don't get me because it was representative of the culture." Did you watch this halftime show?
So I did.
Yeah.
But I mean, I watched it from a different perspective from both of these people. I was not at the game.
Yeah.
I watched it on TV, and, you know, I do not like any of the male sports, I will say, but football is one of my least favorite. I think it's unethical. But I was watching it and I was participating in some gambling about the commercials, which I did enjoy. I loved this performance.
Me too.
I was like, holy shit. He is so charismatic. The image of him in the bell bottoms, like doing this, one of the strongest parasocial gazes I've ever seen in my GT life.
Yeah.
Will live on with me forever. It'll be, I'm not going to say it's on the deathbed montage, but it's like,
it's up there.
it might be in there.
Yeah.
It might be able to beat out all of the obscure Bachelor shit.
Especially because of
currently there.
The year that Kendrick Lamar had, and he was the first solo rap performance to do a halftime show ever. And I know there's like all these political undertones and protest in what he's doing. And maybe that's
what do you mean?
Maybe
Wait, it was political?
Yeah, a little bit. Maybe that's what Tyler Cameron and Jason Tartick took issue with. I don't know. But put all that aside and just look at that rap beef that Kendrick Lamar had with Drake this past year, where they each were producing like a song a day in response to each other, culminating with, They're Not Like Us, that giant song that Kendrick Lamar won the Grammy for Song of the Year for. And he now gets to say, literally into the camera of the biggest TV audience that exists all year, "Hey, Drake," and then continue to just roll him in that rap beef. Again,
have the whole stadium singing A minor.
Yeah. Yep. He's going to strike a chord and it's probably A minor. Even if you take all the political stuff out of it, just that alone, the Titanic success that is in terms of like what artistry is required to not only demolish a person in a rap beef like that, but then to do it in the goddamn Super Bowl. Like when Drake made his first little thing kind of goading Kendrick Lamar into this rap battle, I'm sure he never thought in a million years this guy's going to win a Grammy off one of these songs and sing it at the goddamn Super Bowl. Drake's done. Like he's done.
He's done. I would leave the country. I would go to Canada. I would try to get Degrassi old school going again.
He can be the principal now. Even aside from all that, and by the way, all the political comments.
Degrassi's already done that, by the way.
Oh, I didn't realize.
With like the kids of the people who were on it. But.
Yeah, Degrassi too. I remember that. Yeah. Return to Degrassi or whatever. At any rate, all of the political protest that was in it also was like, it was done so perfectly because it's right on the edge of he's not coming out and just saying like, fuck you, but he opens it and he says,
he doesn't go, oh, and also our president's a pedophile.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything like that.
He just goes, right time, wrong guy. And then there's Samuel Jackson dressed as Uncle Sam. And there's a flag made out of all black male dancers that is split down the middle. And he's standing in the middle of it. Like, it was just so perfectly done at such a high degree of artistry. I don't see how you could ever say it was the worst of all time.
No.
I don't
And
know
the
all of them,
direction. My God, the way the camera, I was like, he has literally run miles somehow during this.
Yeah.
I don't know how. It was gorgeous. It was one of my favorite halftime performances of all time.
It was easily mine.
And
Easily my favorite.
I haven't watched a lot though, to be honest.
I've seen probably all the big ones in the last 20 years or whatever. And that one stands out to me as it was just flawless, I thought. Another small
What was the
part
one
of it,
with Left Shark? Was that in the Super Bowl?
Left Shark. Oh,
Katy Perry?
Yeah, it was Katy Perry. Yeah.
Okay, so that's my other top one.
Okay, sure. And we all remember Janet
California
Jackson and
Girls.
Justin Timberlake.
Equally as memorable.
Very important
Memorable.
one. But also during this performance, a little tid you may not have noticed. One of the guys, there's one of the 4 kind of stages that he went to in the course of this. One of them had street lights, and there was a guy sitting on the street light. This is a reference to one of Kendrick Lamar's music videos. The guy sitting on the street light is Benny from 90 Day. If you're watching.
Wait, what?
Yes, correct. Yes, his wife, Ari, tweeted or put out an Instagram reel saying, so proud of Benny tonight. And it was a picture from the Super Bowl. And that's him sitting on the damn streetlight.
How did Benny?
I don't know how he
did he
got
get
booked
there?
for that or what, but like,
I mean, he's like
worlds
a
collide.
performer. He performs in Vegas, right?
I don't know
Like
where
some
he
sort
performs,
of
but yeah, he's like a
stunts or-
dancer, kind of all around guy.
Oh
I
my
guess.
God, I love that.
Yeah.
All the Easter eggs out there.
Yeah. I know.
Serena Williams. I mean,
Serena Williams wasn't even an
I
Easter
have
egg. She
chills.
was looking right in the
I have
camera.
chills.
Like, it was just so perfect. Even that, like and like, how did that happen? Did Kendrick Lamar call her and be like, I need you to come do this because we're really just trying to fucking demolish Drake? Or was it her being like, I heard you're doing the Super Bowl. I'd love to demolish Drake with you. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a really good bit I want to do.
So good.
I'm guessing it went him to her, but who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll come out later. At any rate, let's move on.
I mean, I rewatched parts of it, which
Yeah.
I've never done with a halftime performance before.
Sure.
Like, I was just fascinated. Yeah, sorry, Gore Girl, Jason Tardik, and T-shirt enemy Tyler Cameron.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Not making any friends of Kendrick Lamar. Finally, though, in Bachelor Nation news, we must say a big congratulations going out to Bachelor Season 20 crown Ben Higgins and his civilian wife, Jessica. They welcomed their first child into our dying world on Thursday. Winona Winnie Elaine Higgins is now among us. Will Winnie oppose the dark reign of Horotro? Only time will tell.
Can you remind our listeners who Horotro is?
Do I dare speak the name? Is it like Voldemort?
Oh, God. Okay, maybe
Hosanna
not.
Rose Trout walks among
This
us.
is Madison Pruitt's
Probably
child.
doesn't walk yet. Crawling around, maybe. When do babies start doing that? That baby
Well,
probably came out walking and
I want to
speaking,
say 1
casting spells.
years old you walk? I don't know.
I can tell you what age you burn yourself with hot gruel. 48. That's when it happens.
I can tell you what age you have your first memory. 12. What are our parasocial plays?
Let's check it out.
Coming in, this was a hot week. There were several entrants, which could have been the winner in any other week, but we had to pick the winners. Number 5, most important parasocial play of the week goes to our most recent and perhaps the last Bachelorette crown ever, Jen Tran. In a joint Instagram reel with Value City Furniture and presumably The Bachelor, although it's not included in the joint accounts, Tran performed a flawless mock Bachelor ad SpawnCon for a reclinable sofa. While this video appears to be a joint ad for watching The Bachelor on Hulu, there is a little title card. It does make you wonder what they would do if she did violate her contract start doing a ton of unsanctioned SpawnCon. Due to The Bachelor trying to kill the franchise with what they did to her at After the Final Rose, Jen Tran is absolutely untouchable. And she should keep her bag, the main thing.
Nice.
In our opinion, issue contract violation after contract violation in terms of doing brand deals. 517,000 views for this video. You go, Jen Tran. Get those paychecks.
Yeah, I hope she gets paid forever off this.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 4, Love Island USA Season 6 winners Serena Page and Cordell Beckham. They did a Valentine's Day shoot for Cosmopolitan and posted a trifecta of still images of the pair looking decadent in various outfits to Cosmo's Instagram. For the first, the caption reads, quote, "We get people online asking to be our third. We would like to make it known that we too are asking this. If you're also
That's Cosmo, I think.
If you're also desperate to join in Cordina's union, head to the link in the bio to read the full interview with Serena Page and at Cordell or Cordy1LL. The images are pure art and racked up huge numbers. The first had 337K likes. The other two posts have 217 and 230K respectively. Cordina are still doing huge numbers on TikTok, and it's clear that the Parasocial demand for them on IG is also unrelenting. The real question is, when is their collab with Big Egg going to happen? Not an egg in sight in these posted photos.
SMDH.
I mean, I don't know. It's risky to post egg content right now.
Egg content.
It's risky.
I know, it's too political.
Yeah, exactly.
You're right. It's a bad time for eggs.
Don't let people know you have eggs if you have them.
I don't have any eggs. And speaking
I don't
of
eat eggs. I'm
eggs,
vegan. I'm untouched by the egg shortage.
our next play has to do with baby sea turtle eggs.
Oh.
Our number 3 top Parasocial play of the week, kind of, is the unlovable bachelor, Ben Higgins, the speaker of truth to power on Almost Famous, the baby turtle Christian prayer whisperer, made his baby announcement this week via a single slide Instagram post of his tear-playing face above his paramour Jess Clark's tear-playing face next to a fresh, wet baby, whose head has been replaced by a giant emoji surrounded by hearts, but presumably this baby is doing tear play as well. The caption reads, "Update and more to come, but baby girl Higgins has entered the world. She is healthy. At Jess Clark is doing so well. I don't yet have words for what just happened, but the update right now is we have a daughter and Jess is recovering so well. The nurses and doctors who cared for us should be lifted high. Also, I am biased, but God spent a little more time on our baby girl because she's real beautiful. This beauty will be revealed soon, but first she needs a bath."
Wow.
Doing this baby dirty, roasting it.
Roasting it, but also saying God spent more time on this baby than other babies. How do you feel about that, Horotro? The comments are a real who's who of the nation's royalty, jam-packed with heavy hitters such as the Tarzan dancing gaysman Joey Grazizia, saying, "So excited for you guys. Congratulations. Red heart emoji, exclamation. Jojo Fletcher, Tropical Rail, Becker, Kufrin, and Paramore, BBTC, the big body trash can himself, Thomas Jacobs, Paradise Jester, inventor of the telepathy and Trader's Night One guy, Wells Adams, and his celebrity paramour, Sarah Hyland, Gore Girl, and the one true goat, Caitlin Bristow, Desiree Hartzog, Daisy Dollop for Daisy Kent, Gore Girl, Jason Tardy, Gore Girl, Baylock High, and civilian paramour, Bachelor Clues, great one, Natalie Joy Tier, Queen, Ashley I. Canetti, Fake Yellow Taxi Cab ring winner, Zach Clark, Charity Lawson, Allie Manitowski, and even Dark Lord Harrison. Crispy Harrison, quote, "My friend, this is where you were meant to be. The word dad fits you well. All my love to you three." Congrats to you three indeed.
Gorgeous.
Wow, it's a lot.
I hope
It's a big one.
he's still going to be coming hot on that podcast with the tea.
Yeah, hopefully
despite
fatherhood won't
softening
soften
as a
him.
father.
No, ain't gonna happen. It's gonna make Higgins harder.
Our second play, in any other week, this play would have absolutely been our Parasocial play of the week. However, it was tough competition. Number 2 goes to Golden Retriever Whisperer, the Bambi-eyed star of Trader Season 3, and our lovable dingbat Bachelorette, Gabby Windy. While every single TikTok she puts out is a true work of art and a must-save TikTok sound in itself, Windy went above and beyond this week with one particular video. In this TikTok, she says, before I get too many new followers, you're not going to like it here. You might not stick around. This could be your purgatory on Earth. I know you're a pervert. I'm one too.
It's pretty good.
204.2K likes, 1.5 million views, 2.4K comments, including Bob the Drag Queen. Quote, I'm following anyway. We love to see one of the Bachelorette goats escalate her fame even more through this Trader season and can't wait to see what this purgatory has in store for us.
She's fantastic. Have you seen, there's a, it's an Instagram, I think. Hold on, I'm looking this up very quickly. It's either an Instagram or it's a TikTok. It's a TikTok called Gabby X Hope Core. Have you seen this?
No.
They take her audio and they put like kind of soft piano music behind it and weird visuals of like sunsets and doves and shit.
Oh, maybe I have seen this. She's wearing
funny.
the sunglasses.
Well, I mean, it depends on which video it is, but yeah, it's hilarious. Anyways, congratulations. We move on
She's
now.
got one of the best voices in the game.
To our Parasocial play of the week. It goes to Grant Ellis's rookie, Latia Gar. In a groundbreaking 8-second TikTok, the Mormon 11-sibling Haver put together an astounding montage of a play that, to our knowledge, has only ever been discussed on this show. The WT technique, aka wet thumb technique. In the video, with the Chiron hashtag women in male feels, Gar puts together two bachelors wet thumbing contestants. First, Grazizi, wet thumbs PTC player Lacey, then Edwina, then his ring winner Kelsey Anderson, then Grant Ellis wet thumbs Latia Gar herself, then Gar finally shows herself wet thumbing Grant Ellis's tier play, finally in the power seat of the wet thumbing technique. The caption reads, quote, women in STEM, fist emoji, the hashtag the Bachelor, hashtag girl power, hashtag women in male fields, 200K likes, 1.8 million views. Reader behavior, ladies and gentlemen. Listener behavior, perhaps. Congratulations.
It's certainly
though.
listener behavior. I have never seen this discussed anywhere else. And these numbers, my God. Yeah. And editing prowess, putting together the old seasons and stuff. I can't wait to see what Latia is going to do.
I agree. Maybe she was the bachelor that never was, or bachelorette that never was. Who knows? Ooh. We also must mention a non-human this week. This week, the parasocial creature of the week goes to a little dog named Lala. You might know Lala as the creature of the greatest Dark Lord to have ever lived. That is Dark Lord Cumming on The Traitors. This week, Dark Lord Cumming himself posted a, how many slide grid is this? Multiple slide, 15, 20, 200 slide main grid post. The first slide in this post is Dark Lord Cumming dressed in his bridal veil that we just saw in the last episode of Traitors. And he's holding Lala like a little baby. He's also dressed in a beautiful white bridal outfit. Absolutely splendid. Please go check that out if you like Lala, if you like Dark Lord Cumming, if you like to be happy, go look at that. It will make you such.
So cute. Also, how do I get Luca to stay in a dog costume like this for so long? Lala is
drugs,
a pro.
probably. Let's move on. We have one final segment to get to. Of course, if you listen to this program with regularity, you know what it is. Me and PaceCase are about to jump down into the bottom of the pit, swim in the dark waters, issue forth our screams about how our fandom of The Bachelor has radically altered our lives. This is
Screams from the Pit.
What you got, PaceCase?
Clues. Today is February 13th.
Yeah.
We are 1 month out from guess what important monumental event? My wedding.
I can't wait. It's going to be a blast.
It's all the people are talking about.
Yeah.
And at this late stage, we are putting together a map of where everyone sits for like the tables and stuff. And I'm like, okay, are you going to put all the singles together? Are you going to mix them with the couples who they know? And I was like thinking of potential pairings during this of like, okay, well, I know single people who could maybe, and I'm like, if I could make some love matches happen during the wedding, I would love that. So I'm like, maybe I'll prioritize that. And I was like, this is what it is to be a Bachelor in Paradise producer. I like just trying to make these matchmake and make these things happen and put them in the right situation. And just everything reminds me of The Bachelor, you know?
I thought you were going to say you were doing the seating arrangement based on who knows how much about The Bachelor.
Well, that would just be me alone.
No, I think I would be on one of those tables.
It would be you and I.
Yeah, it's just you and me sitting at a table. So anyway,
sorry, Jake.
Yeah, you guys talk Bachelor. No, I understand. That's once you start viewing yourself as having any kind of similarity to a Bachelor producer, you're through the looking glass.
Yeah.
This week, my scream is about things that happen every once in a while as a result of being in the pit, where it's the threads of fate. They reveal themselves to be tying a lot of things together that you thought were unrelated, and yet they are all related. And the common thread through them, the thing that binds them, is our beloved game. Some 15 years ago, I made my first network television pilot. It was called Waiting to Die. It was for CBS. It starred Josh Gad, TJ Miller, Josh Lawson, Edie Patterson, who was in Righteous Gemstones. And it starred as Josh Gad's wife, a little actress named Jillian Bell. Okay? Keep that in your back pocket.
Very
Cut
famous.
to this week, I'm watching a movie on the Netflix channel called Kinda Pregnant. It's Amy Schumer's new movie where she puts on a fake pregnancy belly and then is like, oh, dudes are letting me get seats on the bus because of this. And this is actually, people are treating me well. So she fakes being pregnant for the whole of the movie, basically, and conceals this from her best friend, who is played by Jillian Bell.
Okay.
The actress from my pilot. In the film, Jillian Bell and Amy Schumer have a conversation where she's saying, being pregnant's weird. I started masturbating to something very weird the other day. And Amy Schumer says, what was it? And she says, The Golden Bachelor. Now, I immediately am flashing back through time to be like, 15 years ago, if I could go back and tell that self on the set of that pilot that we're shooting, eventually, this actress who's playing Josh Gad's wife is going to say something about The Golden Bachelor in a movie with Amy Schumer, which at that time, who the hell's Amy Schumer? And she's going to be talking about The Golden Bachelor, which at that time, what the fuck's The Golden Bachelor? And that will have
in someone's eye.
Exactly. And that will have deep meaning to you because you're going to have been doing a podcast about The Bachelor for 5 to 6 years at that point. I would have never believed it to be true. And yet here it is.
Me either.
The dark threads of The Bachelor fate weaving a web around me deep in the pit as everything I watch.
Also, I'm like, which part of Golden Bachelor?
They didn't get that specific. Yeah, exactly. They didn't get that specific about it. But
it couldn't have been Joan Vassos, no beds Vassos.
God, that's true. At any rate, that was my scream. Now, we do have another scream to get to, if you know what I'm talking about. If you would like to submit your scream to us, all you got to do is go to patreon.com/Game of Roses. There you get access to all of our bonus content, including our Discord, which has a channel in it called Submit Your Scream. You simply record a 1 minute or shorter scream on video or audio, send it into that channel. Anya goes through them all, sends us the best ones. This week, the one that we have comes to us from Tori Janine. Let's take a listen.
Hello, PaceCase, Bachelor Clues, and the rest of the pit. My name's Tori, and today my scream involves a little something called the New York Times crossword puzzle. So every month they have a bonus puzzle, and February's theme is Love is on the Air. They love to do a little pun. So I thought, oh, this will be a really good puzzle for me. Of course, I'll know a lot of the answers. I knew every single answer in record time. This is the fastest I've ever completed a puzzle. And I don't want to give anything away because I think you all should go and do the puzzle and see how quickly you can do it. But I manifested this puzzle somehow. I think that the creator of the puzzle, Alice Liang, just felt the dark energies of the pit, and she was compelled to pen this puzzle specifically for me. Because I was putting that energy out into the universe. So thank you, Alice Liang. Thank you, everyone at the New York Times, for making this puzzle become a reality. And praise be our beloved game.
What is the puzzle?
It was Love is on the Air. I had a bunch of people DMing me about this puzzle.
On the air.
And it was a bunch of clues that had to do with Bachelor players and stuff like that. I had a bunch of people DMing me about this, being like, oh my God, the New York Times crossword puzzle is all about Bachelor and Love is Blind and just basically all shows that were about love, shows and movies and stuff.
Okay, that makes more sense.
This is like one of the more rewarding moments for being in the pit. When you have a deep fandom of something and then something just kind of touches on it in a surface way, like this crossword puzzle, or maybe it even goes a little bit deeper to get to some esoteric or lesser known players or whatever, and you're rewarded for it. This is a gift from the pit saying you're so deep into this shit that most people can't possibly understand how you feel about it. But here's something in mainstream culture that acknowledges the existence of the pit and your place in it. And it allows you to do the crossword in record time. It gives you a gift, basically, a sign that you're on the right track coming from the darkness of the pit itself. I couldn't be happier for you. What's that?
Have you done the puzzle?
I haven't.
I want to do it.
Go for it.
I hope I do well. All I was thinking, I was very confused of what the topic was in this. And I was just thinking, no, that wasn't the slogan. It was On the Wings of Love.
What? That was season
like on
8,
the air.
10. Stork. I always get them confused. I literally... Huh?
Pavelka is Wings of Love.
Oh, right. Sorry, Pavelka. Anyways...
not Stork Baldwin.
No.
Pavelka's very memorable.
I want to say Stork is 10, Baldwin's 8. I think that's right, but it could be the other way around. I always confuse it. Anyways,
I thought we came up with a mnemonic device for
we
this.
did. I'm going to Google it right now. Hang on.
Okay.
Bachelor season 8 is
once and for all. Let's get this.
Travis Stork. I was right. 8 is Stork. 10 is
8
Baldwin.
Is Stork. 10 is Baldwin. Okay, so it's reverse alphabetical order. SB.
I think the device I came up with is the stork comes before the baby.
The stork comes before
the stork
the
brings
baby.
The baby. So the stork has to be first.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, stork brings the Baldwin baby.
There you go.
Okay.
Stork brings the Stephen Baldwin.
Wow.
Who, by the way, was a complete disaster on this season of Special Forces. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. That concludes...
Catching strays, Baldwin.
That concludes this episode of This Week in Bachelor Nation. Thanks for joining us. Again, get on that Discord on our Patreon if you want to send us a scream, and we'll play it right here. Everybody out there, start enjoying your game of rosé. It's going to start coming in the mail very soon.
Yes.
Please send us pictures and videos of you opening it and having fun with it responsibly. Of course.
Mm-hmm. At your watch parties, especially. I want to see the TV and I want to see the little wine glass.
Oh, nice.
Maybe you can see Grant through the wine just a little bit. Maybe.
Exotic.
Maybe not.
And join me in our Patreon right now for a new episode of Traders. Will be out by the time you're listening to this in Clues Corner. And the tidal wave of Love is Blind Season 8 begins right now. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
We'll see you
Clues
soon.
and I are going to cover Love is Blind to some degree together as well.
That's true.
Praise be Dark Lord Palmer.
Please rate this podcast. Please review this podcast. Please get a friend to listen to us. And then please rate this podcast. Please review this podcast.